You're listening to episode 27 of Post Production Podcast. Hello and welcome, all you amazing people out there, to the Post Production Podcast. Thank you for joining us as we talk about the latest in movie, TVs, and trailers. I'm your host, Mr. Drew, and here with me, of course, is our co-host, Adam.
Hey, what's up, Drew? How's it going?
Not too bad today, Adam. Not too bad.
Very good.
Little short on the sleep, but that's okay.
As always, aren't we all?
Everything can be made up.
Yeah.
When we're dead.
Yeah. Good way of thinking.
Yes. So today, Adam, we're going to do kind of a little back and forth. We're going to talk about some TV series that we've been watching, that we're waiting to come out, that we're excited about, and that we've either heard of or that we are recommending. True?
Yes.
False? True.
Very true. None of that was false.
None of that was false.
Very good.
Okay, so first one off on our list. This is a Netflix original series. It came out a few months ago. It's called Mindhunter.
Yes.
And I watched it. It was fantastic and completely engrossing.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know anything about it, the premise is it's based in the early 70s, like late 60s, early 70s, where the FBI is just coming into its realization that they don't have the proper tools to profile and identify serial killers.
Yeah.
You know, everything in the past has kind of been like, you know, rage, passion, money were always the motives.
Yeah.
This kind of psychological, you know, serial killer mentality, they just don't know anything about it. There's no book written on it. And this is a very early kind of introduction into how they kind of paved the way.
Exactly.
And I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. You had recommended it to me. I didn't get to it until a little while after you, but it was so well done. And from the moment that it opens, like that opening scene really sets the tone for what this whole series is, and every aspect of it is perfectly done, which is, I think the one thing that really stuck out to me is the dialogue. I mean, there's no show out right now that is so well written. Like, the dialogue is just so well done, and then of course the actors have to portray that in the right way, and they do, and it's totally believable. It's a fantastic show, and then it's just really frightening, and it's suspenseful, and it's a different look at serial killers. You know, it's the research aspect of it, and how, you know, they really don't have anything to work on. They're literally like writing the book on this stuff.
Yeah, as they go.
Yeah.
It's really, you know, it's fantastic to watch and realize at that time just how clueless they were with what kind of, where society was going.
Yeah. And
how the mentality of people were kind of changing. And, you know, and I think the other interesting aspect in this is you've got a couple other things going on. One of the supporting actors, Hannah Gross, who plays Debbie Milford, who's like a psychologist in the show, who helps out these two FBI main leads, which we have Jonathan. It's not showing me his whole name. You gotta love phones. Jonathan Groff, who plays Holden Ford, and Holt McCallany, who plays his partner Bill Trench, and they're fantastic together.
Yeah,
and they're
really,
paving
really good.
the way for this. And they enlist the help of Debbie Mitford, played by Hannah Gross, who has played, you know, a detective before in a past show, and it's really interesting how you're dealing with women's equality in a way.
Yeah.
You know, as far as, you know, her mindset, how her ideas get portrayed, her voice in all this as far as in an authoritative manner. And then you're also dealing with all these different things with the mindset of these different police departments that they deal with, and just, you know, how radicalized they are in certain southern states especially.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's the early 70s, so you're going to get that inequality, that gender inequality, that racial inequality, and it makes sense for the show because it's in that time frame. Like it makes total sense. So
Right.
this isn't a show that people are going to be up in arms because there's not a lot of diversity. Because to be accurate, you have to be, that's how it was, and that's and they do address those things.
Yeah.
Too. One last thing about Mindhunter is the cinematography is some of the best I've seen. Just that, I mean, the whole time I was watching it, like, the dialogue keeps you on your toes and keeps you paying attention, but it's the cinematography that really stuck out to me. I was noticing it in every single shot, just thinking, how did they get this shot? How did they do this? And it took me out at times, but not as much as it probably should have. But it's so good that I can't recommend the show enough.
True that. True.
Very good.
Highly recommend it. Check it out. It's a great show, and it's not a long series. It's I think it's like 9 episodes.
It's like 9 or 10 episodes, and they feed you a lot. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this series, so I cannot wait for season 2. I think it's gonna be fantastic. Another show that I just recently watched, which I'm so glad I did, because season 2 is gonna be coming out, I think next week or in 2 weeks, is the Hulu original The Handmaid's Tale. And it is so good, but I think the reason why I didn't want to watch it was because I knew how, like, sad it was. I knew how just very serious the show was going to be, because I kind of knew what it was about. If you've seen the trailers or if you've seen really anything, you know that it's basically about, well, this is what I thought it was about.
Right? Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to spoil it? Because from the trailer, it makes it look one way, and then you start watching it, and you're like, oh, wait, what? And I think I would rather leave that to people to discover.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what... this is a very vague summary of The Handmaid's Tale. For you guys who want to watch it, go ahead and see the first season, the trailer for the first season before watching it. So basically it's about this woman who is basically forced into this kind of cult lifestyle where she is basically how would you say it?
Here. This is the synopsis on IMDb. Set in a dystopian, future, a woman is forced to live as a concubine under a fundamentalist theocratic dictatorship.
It's pretty vague.
Exactly. But I mean, you watch the trailer and it looks like one of these. It almost looks like an M. Night Shyamalan type movie where it's just kind of this weird, thing. He had a movie, The Village, which this could completely parallel that, and that's kind of like what you get this sense of. And there's this woman, and they're called handmaids, and they're basically these forced concubines, and who
they're basically assigned to a family.
They're assigned to a family
who cannot have kids, and they are basically raped, to carry the baby for this family. Yeah. Is that too much of a spoiler?
No, that's good. I mean, because you get that from the trailer.
So it's just really interesting. It's fascinating. I mean, I can't recommend this enough because although it is a tough watch at times, I think it's a really interesting look into something that's really not that far off from reality.
Right.
So,
I mean, this takes a really hard, cold look at the what ifs of things that could happen in society when you're faced with a mortality. Yeah. With the fact of species, with living on, and your legacy. I mean, all these things that have to do with just kind of continuing on with the species and the race. Yeah. And I mean, this delves into women equality. It delves into religion. politics, inter governmental politics between
Yeah.
different countries and things like that.
It's so it's just I can't recommend this enough. I mean, it took me so long to watch it, but I don't think you should wait that long, especially because season 2 is going to be coming out and going to be here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anything else about The Handmaid's Tale?
No, I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
I don't
wanna
want to
keep it
spoil
like that.
anything because it's such a good watch, and I mean, from episode to episode, it just keeps getting. You're just going, wow, this is just
Yeah, every scene
this is
just
just
gets
intense.
more intense.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's really great. I cannot wait for season 2. And then a big shout out to Elizabeth Moss, who's the protagonist. She's the star of the show. She was Peggy from Mad Men, which is a show that I loved for years now. So she is so great in this role.
Yeah, highly recommend it.
Yeah. So anything else you want to recommend for TV?
Well, I'm a big sci-fi nut, and there's been a lot of shows over the years that have kind of flip-flopped in and out of the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
There have been some good ones. There have been some kind of sort of ones, and I think the challenge is that they can't make it serious enough to gain enough of a crowd, and then the ones that aren't serious enough that have a little bit more of a goofy feel to them, they just don't have the ratings. They'll be good for a couple of seasons and then they'll just die off.
Now this is on the Sci-Fi.
This is
channel,
on
right?
Sci-Fi Channel. So now season 3 of The Expanse has just come out on Sci-Fi, and the first 2 seasons were fantastic.
Now what is that about? Because I have no idea.
So this is this is set way in the future. But it's set up in such a way that Earth has colonized Mars, and because there's been that colonization of Mars, there's been this kind of segregation of people and values. And then you also have what's called the belt. So out on Saturn and a lot of other asteroid belts, those places are mined and they are basically just resource rich places. So you have these colonists and these communities out there that do all of this mining and all of this resource kind of generation for the other 2 planets. But because of that, another culture has kind of sort of come into play because they are physically different now because they spend all their times in space. They're not strapped to a planet. So they're born, they're raised, their body structure is a little bit different. They're still people, they're still human, but I mean they just kind of recognize themselves as what's called belters. So you have the belters, which are basically almost like the workforce. You have the Mars colonist, and they've really militarized their kind of way of life. And then you have Earth, of course. And then it just kind of it goes through all these different tensions between the 3. And then there's some sci-fi elements that come into play, some political plots, but it's so well done. The characters you really get into, the special effects are fantastic in this show, and it really moves you along. Season 3 just started. I think the second episode's about to come out, and it kicked off just as good as season 2. So I highly recommend it for any sci-fi fans. Great show.
Nice. Another show that just started its season 2, which you turned me on to when it came out last year, and I didn't really get to watch it in full until just recently. But that is, of course, Legion, the Marvel and FX TV series.
Oh yeah, another Marvel.
Another Marvel. Yeah, exactly. But it's so good because we have Marvel TV from Netflix and then ABC. We have
CW.
Yeah, like all
DC,
of those
Rich.
Yeah, all of those superhero shows, and they're okay. They're for a certain audience, and there's a certain tone to them. But I think this really sets itself apart from all of those shows, even the good shows like Daredevil and things that I like. But it is so well done, and it's of course in the X-Men universe, not particularly like in the movie universe, but it, has to do with mutants, and there's not a whole lot of connectivity into the X-Men that, maybe the general audience knows.
Right. It's a nice step to the side.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it is.
Yeah. There's a couple of little kind of strings that they throw in there, a couple of little Easter eggs, tie-ins, but that's it. You're not going to see Wolverine in this. You're not going to see anybody from the X-Men. You're not going to be, there's not going to be any Marvel, Captain America, and there's nothing's going to show up on this.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, it follows David Haller, who is basically, I mean, I don't even know how to go through it. Let me see here. So David Haller is a troubled young man diagnosed as schizophrenic, but after a strange encounter, he discovers special powers that will change his life forever. So that's a pretty good log line. That's a pretty good one-liner. So what did you enjoy so much about the show? Because you saw it first.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that really stuck out for you?
Well, so I didn't know anything about this person, David Haller, or Legion as he's called in the Marvel comics. So before I watched it, I kind of looked it up because I was like, okay, what am I getting myself into? Like, what are they trying to portray?
Yeah.
And once I kind of read a short synopsis on who Legion was, on who David Haller was, I was intrigued on how, because this is done through FX.
Yeah.
Right? How FX was going to translate this to TV.
Yeah.
And without kind of really spoiling anything, from the synopsis that you just read, the big word in parentheses is schizophrenic.
Yeah.
You have this guy who has multiple personalities, and big underline bold on the multiple part. And that's really tough to kind of portray in TV, because something that's in someone's head, it's rough to relate to the screen. So, I was a little kind of hesitant going into it, but as I started to watch it, I was like, oh man, this is ticking all my boxes. I love it because it's a great psychological show.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, they might get a little bit lost.
Yeah, I think it'll lose some people.
Yeah, but you have to go through it because it ties up, all these different things that you see throughout the series. It ties up later on at the end, episode after episode. But you really have to stick with it. But I thought it was fantastic how they portrayed this guy, his friends, and all the people that he meets that are in this show, and how they all relate to each other, and how he kind of starts to unlock basically his own mind.
Yeah, of course. Dan Stevens plays David Haller. He is so fantastic. Didn't even know he was British, but he's so good in the role. And whenever you get a schizophrenic character, there's going to be some twists and turns. There's going to be some things that are kind of out of the blue, and it's going to keep you on your toes. So. And then throw in that this is in the X-Men universe, and it just goes crazy, basically. And I would say, if you're not enjoying one episode, I think you really do need to stick through it, because this is a story that is best told, in this format. And I'm so glad, because if this was a movie, it wouldn't. They couldn't do it.
They couldn't do it unless it was like a 3.5 hour movie, and even then,
you'd have to really trim.
It would have been rough to do it. There would have been a lot of things lost in translation, I think.
Yeah, but from the first to the last episode, I think it really ties itself together. And now that we're on season 2, we're 2 episodes into season 2, and it really carries that same energy. So, I just can't wait to see where this season goes, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, and it's it's an 8-episode show.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much this second season is going to be.
I think it's going to be another 8 episodes, because I'm looking at the cast, and Dan Stevens is in there for 16 episodes, so I'm assuming that it's 2 seasons split down the middle.
That's good.
But I gotta plug Dan Stevens again. I can't think of a whole lot of other people that could have pulled this off because his not only his dialogue and the way his character is written, but his facial expressions and just you really understand when he's in his mind, out of his mind, paranoid. I mean, you're
Yeah.
right there with him, and I thought he was great getting that on the screen.
And then Aubrey Plaza,
Yeah,
who's
that was the second
fantastic.
plug I was gonna do. She was fantastic.
I mean, I love her from Parks and Rec, but this is such a different role. I mean, it's so dynamic in a lot of ways, but I'll just leave it at that. The show is just so well done with the kind of psychology, and the superhero universe that it has. Like it works so well in those two regards. So
Yeah.
yeah, great show. Highly recommend. What's next on?
So Netflix rebooted an old show called Lost in Space,
Yeah,
and I'm about 4/5 of the way through it, and it is fantastic.
it is.
It is so good.
Because the trailer looked really good.
Yeah, I think they did such a good job. The special effects are fantastic. The writing's fantastic. Who they have for the Robinson family, they all did a fantastic job. Toby Stevens, who I loved in Black Sails, is in this. He's fantastic. Molly Parker is just a powerhouse lead female character in this show. The kids are great, and I tell you the protagonist. I mean, this lady just schemes. Oh, she's so good. But Parker Posey plays the protagonist in this show, and she is
Protagonist
just
or antagonist?
antagonist. Yeah. And she's a guest.
She's a gift.
She's the antagonist, and she is fantastic.
Wow.
Like you want to reach into the screen and just choke her
Oh,
because
man.
she just makes your skin crawl the way she manipulates. And I mean, she's her dialogue and she's written so well.
Yeah.
But I can't say enough good things about her.
Nice. Okay.
Highly recommend it. Good show.
All right. Nice. Let's see. One thing I haven't. I'm currently in the middle of it. I kind of took a break. But real quick plug. Kind of a family show. Kind of a it's not gonna be totally, as serious or as it's gonna be different from these other shows that we've been talking about. But Netflix is a series of unfortunate events. Starring Neil Patrick Harris. It is really, really good, but with this caveat, which is if you have not read the books and if you had no interest as a kid reading the books, you may not even want to watch this. I think it's a show that is really good, and it's really quirky, and it's really it's a fun show. It's a serious show at times. It hits a lot of chords, but I think if you aren't used to this kind of storytelling and this kind of sarcasm and kind of fantastical storytelling, like I think you may kind of it may not be for you, really. And the way it's told and the way that the story is basically it's about these orphans, who of course their parents die, and they have to go live with this guardian, Count Olaf, who's played by Neil Patrick Harris. And basically he's trying to steal their fortune, and things happen, and they have to go from place to place because some things go wrong at one guardian's place, and then they have to move to the other, and that's just kind of how the books are. Each book is them at a new place, and so how they format it in the show is for every two episodes they're at one place. So they're just kind of going through it, and there's 13 total books.
Mm-hmm.
And they did 4 of those books in the first season. Season 2 just came out a few weeks ago. I'm about halfway through, and it's really good. On my end, it's really enjoyable. But I don't think it's a binging show. Like, I don't think it's a show that you want to sit down and watch because it can get repetitive. Because of the way
So it's like
told.
two at a time. Take a breath, two at a time.
Yeah, I would say so. But it is really good. The kids are so good in it, and it is kind of that fun kind of family show with some dark elements, which of course I enjoy. But for any fans of the books who haven't seen it yet, definitely get into it and watch it because it's so good and so accurate to the books that I couldn't help but recommend it. So yeah, that's a little plug right there. Last thing that I think we want to talk about is, of course, the upcoming season of Westworld. Now, we've talked about Westworld on the show before, about how great it is. We really can't get enough of it. I can't wait for the second season. The first season was so shrouded in mystery and kind of theories, from episode to episode. It was so fun to kind of go through that, that when all those theories were either crushed or proven, it kind of left you with, okay, now where do we go? Like, season 2, is there going to be that same kind of, theory crafting and, mystery that was in the first season? And I think that there could be. I'm just really not sure what to expect. I mean, I don't really want to spoil it for people who haven't seen Westworld, but season 2 is directly, the way it'll pick up from season finale, which was absolutely crazy. It can go into a whole new direction.
I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. Yeah. I'm literally, I am more excited for season 2 of Westworld than I am for Infinity War.
No way.
Hands down, I am so much more excited for this than I am for Infinity War.
That's crazy.
I know, it's weird.
You're pretty crazy.
For me, it was just, the first season was so good.
Yeah.
And I just binge watched it again. And knowing the twists and turns and plots and all the different things that happened, watching it the first time, watching it the second time, it was even better. It was so well done. And I cannot wait for this to come out. And I'm just I'm at an impasse on whether I want to go week to week or if I just want to get it all pre-recorded and then just binge it all in a day and then it just explode.
See, I could see that because I think it is a show that you can binge and you'll want to binge, but I think it's good that it's week to week. And especially with last season, just kind of, throwing back to that, the theory crafting, like I was saying, and the mystery that, it leaves you in suspense for an entire week, and
it's a crushing week.
It really is.
And
yeah.
you're just gnawing.
Yeah.
And, pulling your hair going, where is this going? I don't know. No, not another week.
It is so well done. It's, Dolores, who's the actress? I'm pretty bad at names, but Evan Rachel Wood. She plays Dolores. Thandie Newton is in here. Jeffrey Wright, James Marsden, Ed Harris, who's fantastic as well, and of course Anthony Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
All of them were so good in the first season and so crucial to the story. All of them. There's so many different elements to this show. You really can't talk about the first season without kind of spoiling it. But real quick, for people who don't know, any crazy people who don't know what Westworld is, do you want to kind of go through it?
Well, okay, yeah. The basis of the show, if you've seen any of the previous, even for season 1, is basically, it's set, in the future. And unlike a lot of the other kind of shows that have come out where, rich people of means that are bored, they've seen everything, they've done everything, they've bought everything, they have everything. Mm-hmm. What do you do for people like that?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of shows have, the biggest kind of thing is, we'll do virtual reality or we'll do this kind of, this kind of extra body experience. And they can explore all their deep dark desires because they're all just rich fanatics.
Yeah.
In this show, you have this place called Westworld. So it's basically this giant park. It's a giant theme park.
Basically an adult theme park.
Adult theme park. Yeah,
there's
this is not
family
kid friendly.
Even though it is, sometimes you'll see a kid around, and there are like family activities.
There's family activities and
but
there's kids in
really
there, but
not.
it's not something you would bring your kids to.
Yeah.
But and it's a Western, it's a Western atmosphere. So there's Indians, there's the kind of the army, but it's it's the blue coat coalition army, and then you have some South Confederate kind of instigators. So you have this timepiece set in the future, and it's fantastic. So you dress up as a cowboy or cowgirl, whatever, and then and the park is designed that in the center of it is this town, and then as it radiates, as you go farther away from the town, the storylines that you partake in, because the entire place is populated by robots, basically.
These android type
robots. And they look, feel, smell, bleed,
act like real humans.
Completely human, but they can't hurt you. They can't kill you, sorry. They can rough you up a little bit, but they can't physically kill you. So you have this kind of, sort of this cheap button where a lot of people, they'll go in and they'll just like kill and rape and pillage and do whatever they want because they know that's what's going to happen to them. And on other people, there's all these different stories and plots that all of these, they're called hosts, which are the robots, that they're there to entangle you into. And as you get farther out from the central town, the plots and the stories get darker and darker and darker.
Yeah. And then another element to the show is not only what happens, inside the park, but what happens outside, and you get to know the creators and the people behind Westworld and how they kind of go day to day, when there's people who are just knocking around their robots. At the end of the day, they're going in there cleaning up, setting everything up for the next day. It's really interesting, but then season 2 it'll go way crazier than that.
I really want to talk so much about it, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
I think at the end of season 2, we'll do a spoiler kind of talk.
But okay, let me put it to you this way, folks. This show, I cancel my HBO after the show's done, and then when Game of Thrones comes out, I re-up it, and then when Game of Thrones is done, I cancel it again. And then when Westworld comes back out, I pay for HBO again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
This is worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
Completely worth the price of admission.
Nice. I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's about how are we on time?
37?
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, it'll get cut down. All right, guys. Well, first of all, what did you think about our recommendations? Do you have any recommendations? We'd love to know what you guys are watching. We're always kind of wanting to expand our knowledge and stuff and see new things. So, yeah, if you have any recommendations, definitely shoot them out. You know where to find us, and I think that's really it.
Yeah, that's about it. And if you have any recommendations, shoot us some not-so-known recommendations. Some of these hidden little shows. These gems.
Yeah.
Because those are the interesting things that, a lot of these Marvel shows are kind of like rinse and repeat, although Legion, I think, is completely different and set to the side. But a lot of the shows that are coming out nowadays, they're just regurgitated content from previous, shows. So I'm really interested to hear about any hidden gems that you can recommend. So definitely shout out to us.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening again.
Yeah, join us next week as we
geek out over
Infinity War and how excited we are.
Yeah, that'll be our kind of preview show, the last show before Infinity War, before it all ends. That'll be really fun.
Before everyone dies. They all die.
Hopefully not.
I hope they all die in the first 5 minutes. Then it's just credits and you're like,
what?
Wait, what? What did I just see the previews? Yeah, those are just previews. No. Yeah, we don't have to put that in the movie.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
we'll
they're all in like a bonfire. They're all in like a powwow, and like Thanos just shows up and goes, snaps his fingers, kills them all, and then he's like, peace.
That's
And then he turns around and drops the mic, and the credits roll.
Terrible.
Terrible.
All right, guys. We will see you next week.
All right, have fun.
All right, bye. Thank you all so much for listening to Post Production Podcast. If you'd like to reach the show, you can email us any questions or comments at postproductionpod@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All those links are in the description below.
And if you like this podcast, hit that subscribe button and let us know by leaving a rating and review on iTunes. We would really appreciate it. See you guys next time.